I want to start this deep dive by dropping you right into a scenario that I guarantee happens to you and me probably, 5 or 6 times a day.
Oh,
You're scrolling through your phone. Maybe it's Twitter. Maybe it's the comment section of a news article, which, is always a dangerous place to be.
always.
You're just gliding through, kind of zoned out, and then bam, you stop.
It's that physical stutter, right? Split seconds.
Freeze. Yeah, you hit a wall, you read a comment or hear an opinion that completely contradicts your worldview. And instantly, before you've even taken a breath, a voice in your head just screams and says, this person is an idiot, or they are dangerous, or just a flat, definitive wrong.
It is so visceral. It happens faster than a heartbeat. It's almost a reflex, like, pulling your hand away from a hot stove.
It really is. And here is the thing that our source material today is just obsessed with. We believe that voice.
Right.
We trust it implicitly. We don't analyze it.
Because it's inside our head. It sounds like us.
Exactly. So we assume it must be true, but why? Why does judgment happen so fast? And why do we blindly trust it just because it's internal?
That is the core question we are tackling today. And honestly, looking at this research, it's a bit of a rabbit hole. We're looking at a stack of notes that combines modern cognitive psychology with some heavy-hitting existential philosophy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're talking Jean-Paul Sartre, Friedrich Nietzsche, Søren Kierkegaard. And the mission is to explore this concept of metacognition.
Which is just a fancy way of saying thinking about thinking, right?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
But the source material makes a pretty bold, almost disturbing assertion right out of the gate.
Oh.
It suggests that roughly half of the thoughts in our heads aren't actually ours.
Okay, wait. What do you mean not ours?
They are products of influence, of habit, biological reflexes, and social conditioning.
See, that's where I get a little defensive. I like to think I'm the captain of this ship. If I'm thinking it, I must have generated it. To say half my thoughts are products feels like you're calling me a robot.
It is a confronting idea. We pride ourselves on autonomy. But today, we're going to try and deconstruct the I in I think and see if we can reclaim a little bit of actual mental freedom versus just the illusion of it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think most of our listeners, and certainly myself, we pride ourselves on being critical thinkers. If I see a suspicious ad for some supplement, I doubt it.
Of course.
If a politician makes a wild promise, I roll my eyes. I have a filter for the outside world.
You do. We are trained to be skeptical of the external. You doubt the news, you doubt your neighbor's motives, you doubt the sales pitch. But, and this is the mind trap the source discusses, we rarely doubt our own internal monologue.
Because it feels like me. If the thought appears in my brain, it has the stamp of my opinion on it. Why would I doubt the call coming from inside the house?
Because the call might be a recording. The source explains that there's a massive speed issue here. Thoughts appear in your consciousness much, much faster than your ability to critique them. It's automatic.
Faster than I can think about it.
Exactly. And because we hear this inner voice constantly, from the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep, we make a fundamental error. We confuse the inner voice with our actual identity.
So just because a thought pops up, I automatically assume that thought is who I am.
Yes. And questioning it feels dangerous.
I can see that. If I start questioning my own thoughts, it feels like the ground is shaking. It threatens my sense of stability. If I can't trust my own brain, what can I trust? That sounds like a recipe for an existential crisis.
Well, welcome to the club. That fear is exactly what keeps us on autopilot. Friedrich Nietzsche had a very sharp insight on this. He warned that what we call beliefs or truths are often just habits of thought.
Habits of thought.
Habits that have been repeated long enough to feel true.
Can we dig into that? Because when I think of habits, I think of biting my nails or, checking my email.
Yeah.
How is a belief a habit?
Well, think about it biologically. A thought is just a neural pathway. If you think X is bad and Y is good over and over again, maybe because your parents said it or because the algorithm on your phone keeps feeding you videos that reinforce it, that pathway gets stronger.
It gets worn in like a groove.
It becomes a superhighway. The signal travels fast. So when you have that knee-jerk reaction to a tweet, it's not necessarily that you've deeply analyzed the policy.
It's just that the sled is going down the groove I've carved for 10 years.
Precisely. It's familiarity masquerading as truth. And this connects directly to Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre famously said that humans are condemned to be free.
Condemned is a heavy word. Usually freedom is something we celebrate.
Sartre was a bit dramatic, but he had a point. He means we are forced to make choices constantly, Even not choosing is a choice. We are the sum of those choices.
Okay.
But here's the catch the source highlights. If we don't question those initial automatic thoughts, those habits Nietzsche talked about, then we aren't really making choices at all.
We're just executing the program.
We are living on autopilot. We are letting the habit make the choice for us, while convincing ourselves we did it.
That is actually kind of terrifying. It implies that a lot of what I consider my personality might just be a collection of unexamined scripts.
Which brings us to the next logical and perhaps uncomfortable question. If these thoughts aren't mine, whose are they?
Right, because I don't remember signing up for a script subscription service. But the source material brings up this idea of the blank page myth.
This is crucial to get.
Yeah.
We tend to imagine that we are born as these blank slates, pure objective observers. And as we grow up, we, objectively gather data to form opinions.
But we don't.
We don't start from zero. You were born into a family, a specific culture and education system, a specific time in history.
And now, more than ever, a media ecosystem. The source points out how social media and the 24-hour news cycle provide pre-packaged opinions. I mean, think about it. You see a headline, and within 3 seconds you've downloaded a reaction.
It's incredibly efficient. You see a key word, and you know whether to despise, praise, or ignore. You likely feel that reaction before you've even read the article.
Oh, for sure.
The source asks a really piercing question here. Do you know who laid the first brick of that opinion?
Probably not. It's just there. It feels native.
This is where Michel Foucault comes in. Now, Foucault can be dense, but his core idea about discourse is vital here. He argued that power lies in how we talk about things.
So the language we use.
The language we use shapes what we consider true or possible.
Yeah.
The source uses the example of the word success.
Oh, this one hit home for me, but let's be real. When I say the word success, what pops into your head?
If we're being honest, for most people, thanks to societal discourse, it's money, it's fame, a corner office, maybe a specific type of car.
Exactly. I want to say happiness or a nice garden, but if I close my eyes, I see a guy in a suit getting into a Tesla. And I hate that I picture that. I didn't choose that image.
But the image is there. That's Foucault's point. Society has framed the definition of success for you. And by accepting that definition, you are submitting to a specific structure of power capitalism, consumerism, whatever you want to call it, without ever signing a contract.
You are chasing a goal that was planted in your head.
Right. And it's not just passive absorption, is it? There's a pressure to conform. The source brings up Søren Kierkegaard in his concept of the crowd.
The crowd. Tell me about that.
Well, Kierkegaard warned that in a crowd, the individual loses the responsibility to think. It is incredibly convenient to adopt the group's thinking. It saves energy, it feels safe.
But is it just laziness? Because I feel like it's deeper than that. If everyone in my tribe, whether that's my political party, my friend group, or my colleagues, if they all think X is bad and Y is good, it's terrifying to disagree.
You're hitting on the evolutionary biology aspect of this, which the source touches on. It's not just laziness, it's survival. For most of human history, if you were kicked out of the tribe, you died.
You starved or were eaten by a predator? Oh.
Exactly. So thinking differently literally triggers a death fear. The source calls this social fear. We often refuse to change our minds, not because we are afraid of being factually wrong,
but because we are terrified of being isolated.
Yes. If I question the group's dogma, will I still have a seat at the fire?
That is the real pressure. It's not intellectual, it's primal. So we have this setup where our thoughts are often automatic downloads from society, enforced by the fear of not fitting in. That sounds bleak. Is there a way out? Or are we just doomed to be sheep?
There is a way out.
Okay.
But it requires effort. The source talks about a specific moment where we can break this loop. They call it the existential gap.
The existential gap sounds like a sci-fi movie. What is it?
Think of it like the delay button on a live TV broadcast. You know how live TV often runs on a 7-second delay so that if someone swears, the producer can cut the feed?
Right, the safety buffer.
The gap is installing that 7-second delay in your own mind. It is that specific tiny moment when you stop and ask, wait, why do I think this?
Just that simple question.
It sounds simple, but functionally, it creates a space. A space opens up between me, the conscious observer, and my thought. Suddenly, you aren't the thought anymore. You are the person looking at the thought.
But here's my question. If I pause and look at the thought, I'm still feeling it, right? If I'm angry and I pause, I'm still angry. The source notes that this space, it doesn't feel good. It feels uncomfortable.
Extremely uncomfortable, because when you pause, You lose the momentum of self-righteousness.
Yeah.
It's much easier, emotionally speaking, to be angry. It feels good to say, I am right, they are wrong.
It gives you that little dopamine hit of certainty.
Yes, to stop and say, I might be reacting based on a script I learned 10 years ago. That is humbling, and it produces anxiety.
Kierkegaard had a spin on anxiety, though, didn't he? He didn't see it as a bad thing.
No, quite the opposite. He called anxiety the dizziness of freedom.
I love that phrase, the dizziness of freedom. But what does it actually mean?
It means that if you are feeling that anxiety, that uncertainty, it's not a sign you are failing. It's a sign you are waking up. You're realizing that you have other options.
So you're not just a machine executing a program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are standing at the edge of a cliff of possibilities.
Yeah.
And that makes you dizzy.
So the dizziness is the proof that I'm actually in the driver's seat for once.
Precisely. And bringing it back to Sartre, this is where true responsibility kicks in. Responsibility isn't just owning your actions like, I shuddered at that person, I apologize.
Right.
True responsibility is owning the thoughts that led to the action. If you don't question the source of your anger, you aren't fully awake and you aren't fully responsible.
So let's try to ground this. We've been very philosophical talking about cliffs and dizziness, but how does this actually look in real life? The source gives a couple of great examples. The first one is career choices.
This is a classic one. Think of a young person choosing a college major or career path. They might say, with total conviction, I love this field. This is my passion. I want to be a corporate lawyer.
But upon interrogation, if we really shine a light on it, is it passion? Or is it family expectation? Is it the desire for social status? Is it just fear of being broke?
Right, and often those external pressures masquerade as internal desire. I want to be a lawyer might actually translate to, I want my parents to be proud of me, or I want society to think I'm smart.
And the tragedy there is that you could spend 40 years climbing a ladder that you didn't even want to be on.
Exactly. If you don't ask why, you might spend your whole life living out someone else's dream. That is the cost of not finding the gap.
That's a heavy realization. The second example the source gives is about prejudice and how we form quick judgments about groups of people. This goes back to Nietzsche.
Nietzsche's insight here is fascinating, and it explains so much of our modern political polarization. He suggests that moral judgments are often just rationalized emotion.
Rationalized emotion, so the feeling comes first.
Always. You feel the emotion first, fear, dislike, disgust, usually based on that conditioning we talked about. And then, milliseconds later, your brain acts like a lawyer. It invents a logical reason to justify that feeling.
So you think you are being logical, but you are really just acting as a defense attorney for your lizard brain.
Yes. That explains why arguing with people on the internet is so futile. You're arguing with their logic, but their logic is just a shield for a feeling they haven't questioned.
You're attacking the walls of the castle, but the king is hiding in the bunker of emotion.
Exactly. Unless you address the emotion, the logic won't change.
And here is a challenge the source poses to the listener, and I'd like to pose it to you, and honestly, to myself, the trace test. When was the last time you changed a really deeply held belief? Not just a trivial opinion like I don't like cilantro, but a core value, because you trace it back to its root and realize the root wasn't yours.
That's a hard question. It is. I mean, I'm trying to think.
It is. I've changed my mind on tax policy or maybe certain movies, but a core belief, that's rare.
It is rare because it requires that trace. You have to dig up the root. And usually the root is something like, my dad said this when I was 7, or I saw a scary news report once when I was vulnerable. When you see how flimsy the root is, the belief often crumbles. But digging is hard work.
So we've established that we are full of other people's thoughts, it's scary to question them, and our brains are constantly trying to trick us.
Right.
But we want to be free. What do we physically do? Because I can't just walk around quoting Sartre every time I get annoyed at a barista.
No, and please don't do that. You'll lose all your friends.
Right. So what are the strategies? The source outlines a few, but I want to make sure they are practical.
The first thing to clarify is the goal. The goal isn't to doubt everything. That leads to paralysis. If you question whether the floor is solid every time you take a step, you'll never walk.
It's not universal doubt?
No, it's to stop living automatically.
Okay, so let's say I'm in a situation, I feel that surge of anger. What's the first move? The source suggests linguistic distancing.
This is a subtle shift, but it's powerful. Instead of saying, I am angry, you say, there is an angry thought in me.
There is an angry thought in me. It sounds a bit clinical. Does that actually work?
It works because language shapes reality. Remember Foucault? When you say, I am angry, You are fusing your identity with the emotion. You are the anger.
And when you say there's anger in me,
You are the vessel. The anger is just the content. It gives you just enough distance to look at it objectively. It treats the thought as a passing phenomenon, like a cloud passing through the sky, rather than defining the whole sky.
I like that. Okay, so once you have that distance, what's next?
Use the second strategy, the source check. This is where we ask, where did I learn this?
Right. The follow-up question, was it a teacher, a parent, a viral video?
Exactly. Just identifying the source often reduces the power the thought has over you. If you realize your fear of flying comes from one specific movie you saw as a kid, it suddenly seems less like an absolute truth about aerodynamics and more like a quirk of your personal history.
It contextualizes it. It shrinks the monster. But what about when we don't know the answer? Strategy number 3 is accept uncertainty.
This goes back to the dizziness. You have to be willing to sit in the discomfort of not being 100% sure you were right. We crave certainty, but certainty is often the enemy of growth.
True honesty begins when you can say, I think this, but I could be wrong.
And I don't know for sure. That is a superpower in today's world. It invites conversation rather than conflict.
But I worry about one thing. If I do this for everything, I'm going to be exhausted by noon. I can't source check my desire for a bagel.
And that's the final piece of the puzzle. Filter high-stakes thoughts. Don't overanalyze your choice of coffee or socks. Save your energy for the thoughts that define your self-worth or how you treat other people.
So it's about triage.
Precisely. Rigorously audit the thoughts that say, I'm a failure, or those people are dangerous. Those are the ones that shape your reality. Let the small stuff slide.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway for me is just how much thinking we do without ever actually thinking about the thinking. We are like hamsters on a wheel, running fast, but not checking who built the wheel.
That is a great analogy. And the source concludes with this idea that freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's the ability to pause between the thought and the action. That pause is where your freedom lives.
It's that split second, the moment you read the comment and the judgment rises up, and you catch it, you look at it.
And you decide whether to keep it or let it go.
I want to leave everyone with a final provocative thought from the source material. It suggests that the most important question isn't, what do I think? We all know what we think. The question is, do I have the courage to ask why I think this?
That why is the key to everything.
So the next time you are scrolling through your feed, or you're in a heated argument, or you're feeling that sudden surge of judgment, try to catch yourself in the act, just once. See if you can find that gap. Thanks for diving in with us.
It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.